Hello and welcome to The Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely, and with me, of course, is Peter Lavelle, co-founder of The Gaggle and host of RT's talk show Crosstalk. Well, there is intensive speculation about the intent of the possibly incoming Biden team. The Biden team has put out stories that they have no interest in prosecuting Donald Trump and the people who work for Donald Trump. Not that anyone had actually even asked, do you intend to prosecute Donald Trump? But nonetheless, they're putting the story out there to say, no, we're good. However, maybe, who knows? We don't intend to tell the DOJ what to do. So, they're going to have a carte blanche to do what they do. Now, there's something very interesting that is going on here, and one has to suspect that they are implicitly threatening Trump and the people around Trump that if you don't concede in the very near future, prepare to expect harassment, intimidation, and prosecution at the hands of a Biden DOJ. So that, I think, is the implicit message of the sudden appearance of this news story saying, no, we're good. We don't intend to prosecute Trump. What's your take, Peter?
Yeah, I think that there's a few other layers there too. They through their conduits, and it looks like it was NBC primarily. We know who's going to be the unofficial spokesperson for a would-be Biden administration, I suppose. Number one, it is about the so-called transition, but it's a carrot and a stick. Okay, the carrot is we'll let you off the hook for whatever people say you're on the hook for. It's not made clear. Okay, but they're also they want the Trump orbit to take lead on this because they know that if there's even a insinuation that Trump will be prosecuted outside of office, he has 70 million supporters on his side. Okay. Which is very interesting. I think too, before I forget, I think that there's an implicit Hunter Biden element to this too. Okay, we forgive you, you leave us alone, we walk away. I think there is something there because there is there's a laptop, okay? There are conversations, there are records of wire transfers, there's something there. Right. Of course, and now you and I will probably disagree on this point because it's been mentioned that if Trump accepts a pardon, it implicitly, even explicitly, is an admission of guilt. I don't think that's necessarily true, okay? Because if we look at, and we have a pretty good template with Nixon. Now, if we look at the articles of impeachment, those are, in a sense, are indictments, right? Okay, so we knew what he was on the hook for. Here we don't. So essentially, this pardon talk is anything that you might have done or could be deemed as illegal. So it's kind of opaque that way. I mean, most people aren't president of the United States, but most people would like to say, well, I don't want to go to prison. I don't want to have any legal problems, but I mean, what are you charging me with before I accept your pardon?
Well, I think that's exactly.
And remember the way it was phrased in when Ford pardoned Nixon, he said, a complete and free. The free word is very, very critical here because there's no quid pro quo. That's what they want to say here. Right. Now, in this case, it doesn't seem like it's free. There's an implicit quid pro quo. And of course, coming from Joe Biden, he knows something about those kinds of things. So you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, but I think that, I mean, you're right about Nixon. I think Ford at the time explicitly stated that by accepting the pardon, Nixon was admitting to his guilt.
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, exactly. Nixon didn't actually admit guilt when he thanked Ford for the pardon. But Ford said,
Essentially,
yeah,
no contest, no
yeah,
contest.
exactly. Yeah, Ford said yes. That is an implicit acceptance of guilt on the part of Nixon. Um, Now, the thing about the Trump pardon is that, as you say, when you read these stories in NBC, it's not clear what are you charging him with. I mean, it sounds like you don't like his policies, like, oh, well, separating families at the border. Well, that's a policy. I mean, it's a continuation of the Obama policy, but it's still a policy. You can't prosecute him because you don't like this policy. Then they talk about, oh, conflicts of interest. But what conflicts of interest? And we still haven't heard any conflicts of interest. I mean, he's probably taken a loss by being president. He hasn't
Absolutely.
taken a salary, and it's not clear that he has in any way benefited from his being president. So there's really, they still can't specify what are these crimes that he might be charged with. The one issue that I think kind of hangs over this, and really Biden has no say in this, and that is what would the states do?
Of course.
If New York State, which is very political, run by that Cyrus Vance Jr., who's the New York Attorney General, they could prosecute Trump, and there, Biden really would have no say in
The
the matter.
DOJ can do nothing about that.
Right, exactly. And so therefore, I don't see that Biden really has any leverage. I mean, it's not like Trump has anything very much to fear. Trump would also put forward a very formidable legal team. So any attempt by them, I suppose they might try to revamp the Mueller report and say, oh well, Mueller did suggest that you might have obstructed justice. They might try to do that. It's not going to succeed. I mean, that's just so vague. Obstruction of justice. You're not going to succeed with that. So I don't think they have very much leverage. I mean, they're obviously want Trump to concede. They're very desperate, really, to want him to concede.
But that's the first thing they want. The second thing they want is they want him to go away quietly. That's also built into this deal. Right. Or alleged deal here.
No, that's a very good point. Exactly. They want him to go quietly. In other words, yeah, disappear. We don't want to hear from you. We don't want you to be running for president. And of course, if you offer him a pardon and he accepts a pardon, he can't very well then start immediately campaigning for 2024. So you're absolutely right there.
Yeah, but if he just says this is nonsense, I'm not, I didn't do anything wrong, and take me to court if you think I did, and that will work to Trump's advantage. Number one, he will have a dream team, irrespective of this cancel culture targeting of people. Trump's got, I mean, in the scheme of things, George, I mean, this is a heated moment. Okay, it's a very heated moment, and yes, things will calm down as we move forward. But if you're constantly attacking Donald Trump, well, you put him in the news, okay? And it's going to energize people. And then after the 1 millionth time, the average voter has said it was stolen, then it's reality to these people, okay? It's reality. And we're going to get it back. And that will be their mission. Get it back, okay? So, I mean, I think that, they always talk about, Trump needed adults around him in the room. Where are the adults for the Democrats? Can't you see it's transparently stupid and juvenile?
Right.
Okay, and plus, I thought justice was blind, okay? And oh no, you can quantify it here, okay? Oh, what is this, a public plea bargain? That's what it is.
Right. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And you're right, because the Democrats are salivating that they're going to go after Trump. Now, no doubt the Congress will be holding hearings. I mean, at least in the House of Representatives, they'll have a tiny majority. But as you say, where are the adults in the room? They're already facing a wipeout in 2022. They've got a tiny majority now. And this is how they plan to occupy themselves for the next 2 years. But they probably are. I mean, you look at these people like Adam Schiff and Nadler, Pelosi. I mean, it seems like this is, it's really in part of their DNA. They just simply can't stop just going after Trump. So it does seem a really, really stupid enterprise.
What is this? It's going to be impeachment 2.0 outside of the Oval Office. You got to be joking, okay? You know the irony of all this, George, is all the wrongdoing in the latter days of the Obama administration, and these people are going to get off scot-free. Not only scot-free, the cable contracts and books and tours, and and look at the people that these people have destroyed. Roger Stone, for example, or Papadopoulos and Carter Page. Okay, these people are faultless. Okay, and their lives were turned up.
And one thing, just, when you mention those people, Stone, Papadopoulos, and Page. And some of them, have got this criminal conviction now on their records. They were sentenced to much harsher terms than this guy. Now I've forgotten his name. The one who kind
He's forgettable. Okay,
yeah, forgettable. The one who actually
idiot blue check. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, I mean the guy falsified a federal document. I mean there it is. They actually caught him red-handed.
George, if you were in that position, and you did that, they put you in jail and throw away the key. Okay.
Absolutely, exactly. You're looking at 10 to 15 years. I mean,
look at the guy on the nuclear submarine that took pictures like of his work area and sent it to his mother or something like that. And what did he get? 25 years? I don't remember the number. Okay, but I mean, he was slapped down really hard. Okay, and then people that try to overthrow the democratically elected government of the United States gets a cable contract.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's galling to me that the adults around Biden are looking to make a deal, okay? You want us to forget all of that? Yeah, you do, because you're going to make these reports go away. What you know it's going to do, George? It's going to say it was stolen, and we know who did it. We know who obstructed the president for 4 years. These myths will become real, tangible realities for tens of millions of people. Okay. No, the thing is that we don't change. You and I don't change on these things here. Okay, the Mueller report is commissioned. Okay, I see no predicate, but it's in course. Okay, let's see what they do. Let's see what they find. They found nothing. Okay, now with this election, let's just count every legal vote. I mean, we're not running out of time. We have a timeline.
But that's exactly, but the Democrats are obviously very, very nervous about this. Not so much because they think that these election results will be overturned by the courts, but that the more this goes on, the more this investigation and lawsuits go on, the more we're finding out about absolute outrageous shenanigans that go on. I mean, it's like we're now finding all this thing about Georgia. Oh, we found another 6,000 votes here. Well, what do you mean? You just found 6,000 votes? And then, here's another 3,000.
And they all go in one direction, apparently, or almost all in one direction.
Yeah, exactly. So you think that, well, the more you investigate, I mean, this happened in 2016 when Jill Stein wanted a recount in Michigan, and then as they started the recount, they suddenly found that more people voted than there were registered voters. So they said, well, hey, we don't want to start recount. No, let's end it in that case. Because
you just read my mind, George, because that's exactly anticipating in talking with you. I was thinking about voter turnout. And on the one hand, you'd say, well, it's a polarized event. This is a seminal event in American political history. A lot is at stake here. But then, without any evidence, okay, I mean, or there's another theory to the case why the voter turnout was higher, because there were a lot more ballots.
Right.
Okay. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I think a reasonable person could ask that. Is that what generated the turnout? Was it voters voting, or was it the number of ballots in circulation?
Right.
I mean, I think it's a fair question.
That is a very fair question, because it's clear that what was going on is that the election officials were just sending out ballots in a haphazard way. I mean, it's like, they just sent every single registered voter, everyone who was on the official rolls, they just sent them out.
Since 1900.
Right, yeah, exactly. So, you get a house, one person's living there, and they get about 10 mail-in ballots. So it's so ripe for fraud, particularly as it's now turning out, they weren't really bothering to do proper checks of signatures. So you thought, well, oh, well, of course, we're mail-in ballots, but somebody's going to check the signatures. No, no one was checking the signatures. So, of course, there's, absolute fraud. I mean, election fraud is actually pretty easy most of the time. But with this, I mean, it's just really a joke.
Well, it just backs up the old adage, vote early and often.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the whole idea that the media was, oh, no, election fraud is very, very rare. Why? Very rare. It's the easiest thing in the world. Why would it be very rare?
No, it shows, I think it does show an element of desperation. There's also an element of impatience. And I tend to think, I think in the back of their mind, their collective mind, because they all act collectively, it's remarkable. Conservatives would never act this way. We just don't think that way. I think for myself, okay? Right. I mean, and I like to watch some of the conservative commentators on Fox, and I like to throw spit wads at them because they're stupid, okay? They're not influencing me at all. Right. But they're really afraid, they have Stockholm syndrome. They can't imagine a world without Trump somehow. And it eats away at them. It's a phobia. It's a neurosis they have. Right. Because they know, first of all, their candidate is an empty suit. It's Obama 2.0, okay? Without the narcissism. I don't think Joe's very narcissistic, okay? Yeah. But they know, and they're terrified, is that every hour that passes, the Trump supporters are going to say, it was stolen from us. And they're going to have innumerable examples. And I want to make it very, very clear. George and I, on the gaggle here, we're not making any forensic claims about anything, okay? What we're trying to do is contend with a number of suppositions of how people are going to react, okay? I don't know if the election was stolen, and I wouldn't say it because I don't know. But what's important is the tens of millions of people may have that perception. And in this case, perception becomes reality. And I think they're shaking in their boots right now because I don't think they understand how to win in a way, okay?
Well, I think, that's it. And that, as time goes on and as more and more is being found out, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and we're finding out more and more of these outrageous practices. So, whether the election result is overturned or not, as you say, the 70 million, a good chunk of that will say this election was stolen. And therefore, Biden, who's going to insist, oh, well, I have a mandate. I say, no, you have no mandate, because there's a very substantial portion of the population will say he is not my president.
If
the election.
If there were adults in the room around Joe Biden, they would say to him, Joe, get on NBC, because apparently that's your conduit right now, and ask for airtime and implore upon every single election committee across the country to come clean. Let's have a recount if necessary. Let's show everyone. Let's be transparent, because he's the only beneficiary if he indeed won this election. But he's not doing that. And I want people to remember this video as George and I are talking right now, because they may truly regret not taking the transparency route. Instead of saying, there's nothing to see, shut up, okay, we're moving on. That is a cardinal, and he's not even in office. The transition technically hasn't even started, and they're making a cardinal political mistake. That this is a bell you can't unring.
Right, exactly. And they're dealing with somebody, Donald Trump, who is a fighter. He is not like most Republicans who kind of, roll over and say, oh, well, all right, we lost, forget it. Let's all rally around the president-elect. That is not who he is. And we know that, if he fails in this, he is not going to concede at any point, and could well be that he's not actually even going to attend the inauguration. I mean,
the thing is, too, is that, thinking a bit counterintuitively, in a way, Trump has made himself a prisoner of himself, because if he concedes at this point, as they have lawsuits still pending, and he hints that he will attend the inauguration, he'll see his base react very
No,
negatively,
no, no,
because
no,
it's not just about the man. It's about what they saw in 2016 is to be heard, to be recognized, okay? And they felt the same in 2020, even though we were constantly beaten down. It's the coronavirus, it's corona. No, it wasn't. It wasn't that, okay? People ended up being a lot more responsible for their own behavior than they're ever given credit for by these blue politicians, okay? And we're seeing it now too. I mean, I think it's just absolutely ridiculous what they're doing right now. And there are going to be tens of millions of people say, but Trump wouldn't do that. And that's what we're going to hear, George, but Trump would never do that. Right? In fact, Trump did this and this, okay? And it could be a mythology, okay? Because a lot of politics is mythology, all right?
Right. Well, I think that's it. I mean, and that's you have, and there you have the princess. You have the contrast between Trump and Biden. Trump was a wealthy man before he became president. He made his money in the private sector. He hasn't taken a salary. His businesses haven't benefited from his being in office. Biden, on the other hand, has become a wealthy man, and he has done nothing but hold public office. In other words, he has used public office to become very, very rich, and his family to become very, very rich. So that will be the contrast. People say, well, yeah, but there's a big difference here. Trump didn't need this office to become rich. Biden did. So that's the whole thing. So the case that Trump is corrupt hasn't even remotely been made.
This whole pardon idea, again, comes from a place of fear, because, I mean, objectively speaking, if you were to have been watching American politics for the last 5 years, and you saw essentially the political crucifixion of Donald Trump, I mean, objectively speaking, why should his supporters to say, yeah, let's let this all be bygones, be bygones? No, it's our turn now. It's our turn. Okay. And I think a lot of people feel very strongly about that. I can't underestimate or overestimate for people is that how important the vote is for these people, for so many of these people, because it's the last thing that they have. We have this globalization, and I'm going to sound like Trump now, awful trade deals, which they were. And you've just denuded the industrial Midwest, and people, just because there's an election doesn't mean you're going to feel any better. Okay.
Right.
I think,
I think it's yeah. No.
I mean, because look, if these issues are not addressed satisfactorily, we are going to be living in 2016 for the next 4 years.
Right. But I think it's a very good point that, people have the vote, and that's the important thing. And then they'll say 2016 was, we were robbed of the victory in 2016 because Trump then had to spend the next 4 years fighting off a ridiculous slogan that he colluded with Russia, for which there was no evidence was ever found. And it basically hobbled his presidency from the beginning. So we were robbed of 2016, and now we're robbed of 2020 for a second time. And the closest parallel I can think of is like the people in Ukraine. We had 2004 robbed with the Orange Revolution. Then we got the 2010 election when Yanukovych won. So it's like, however we vote, the election result is always robbed from us. And what happens then? Well, secession or effective secession. That's what people do when their vote is taken away from them.
And you said it earlier in a previous video, is that if you feel that there's been fraudulent voting, that means your vote was invalidated. See, this is, you don't have to be a deplorable or a rube not to be able to understand that. I mean, you did this, it means mine didn't count, and I voted. And that's going to be a mantra for a lot of people.
That's right. So, yeah, exactly. So, in other words, a legal vote was rendered pointless by an illegal vote. And that is, you're basically robbed of your birthright. And that is a very serious business. In a Biden election, yeah, absolutely.
What the Biden people don't get, and it's in not so long ago, and I'm not saying that I approve, but where is their Dick Cheney of 2000? where it just, moves right ahead here. You see Biden and his people tiptoeing tepidly what's going on here instead of being more bold. Again, last time we spoke, I said, remember the podium, the transition team, okay? Really in your face here. So, I don't know what happened to the adults in the room. Were there ever any adults in the room? I don't know. We should do a separate video on adults in the room, okay? But it seems to me this whole idea that's being floated, it's out of fear, anxiety, impatience, and these people, they know what they did to the Trump administration. They know what they did, okay, and they know what they've done to the public psyche. They know it, and they're terrified of what they have unleashed, because people are going to say, payback. It's payback time.
Well, that's the interesting thing, is that the Democrats always they're very self-righteous, and they never believe that they actually steal elections. So in their view, it's only Republicans who ever steal elections. So if you go through, in history, you go back to 1968. Say, oh yeah, that was stolen by Nixon, because Nixon talked about a secret peace plan, and then he was in negotiation with the South Vietnamese, and it was all jolly unfair. So that was 68. Then we got the 72, which was again Nixon landslide. Oh, Watergate. You go to 1980. Reagan was, negotiating with the Ayatollahs to keep the diplomats imprisoned in Tehran. 1988. Oh, Willie Horton. And it's just, I understand, of course, 2000 was the whole, the hanging chads. So, the Democrats always have a story. So, oh, we was robbed. But when they do this, oh, well, hey, open and above board.
Because their ideology, you see, their ideology informs them here. And in their mind, it doesn't matter if it was stolen, it's the outcome that counts, okay? Oh, there's some things on the margin, but this is the way it's supposed to be. This is the arc of history. That's how they see the world, because they're ideologically informed. And anything that gets in the way, they just filter it out. They filter it out. In the defense of the GOP, which I don't like doing very often, they did have an autopsy of the party after Obama was elected, and they took I think it was a 2 or 3 year autopsy, trying to understand what went wrong here, and they actually drew some positive lessons from it. But everything that you mentioned,
Trump actually ignored all that. I mean, it's because their conclusion was we have to do an outreach to minorities, which isn't what Trump did in 2016.
No, because Trump intuitively understood it's class and it's not race. Okay. And the media wants to stay on race because that's how they divide and rule. But every single case that you mentioned from 68 all the way up to the present, it's just always an excuse for them not to examine their ideology. Okay, and they can't, because if they do, then it all goes to tatters. All right,
exactly. So there's always a dirty trick. There's some Republican dirty trick. That prevented us from winning. An amazing lack of self-examination. So because, hey, well, why should I examine it? We were just robbed by some swinish Republicans, some Lee Atwater or Putin or whoever.
Well, you've already mentioned it, is that 2022 it's on, party on, okay?
Right.
Because you saw Tucker. They had that a woman that because I lived in Orange County for many years. I went to high school in Orange County, California, and this Asian woman that won. An amazing story too. I don't know. She's half Korean, half Japanese. Okay, and she speaks English extremely well, but she has a slight accent here. But here's a woman that looks like a first generation, and now she's going to be a member of Congress. That's a great, wonderful story. And how she said that her Democratic opponents, accused her of being Chinese. Okay, they'll go to any lengths whatsoever instead of celebrating this achievement of this woman, which I think is remarkable. Okay, because and she won on her merits, even against gross prejudice from the left.
Right. Yeah. That's right. So, all more baffling than this apparent Biden victory, because I think, as Tucker pointed out, and others have done it, that of the 27 toss-up seats, according to the Cook political report, Republicans won whole 27. It's a bad night for the Democrats. If you lose every single one of the toss-up seats, that means it was a red wave, no blue wave. It was a red wave that night.
You know what it tells us? It tells us crystal clear is that nobody's listening to the media.
Right.
I mean, the media's relevance is so minuscule right now because, constantly pounding away. It's going to be a blue wave. We're going to, anyone that votes for Trump is a racist, a xenophobe, and it's actually, most people say, nah, nah, I don't think so. And there's this woman of immigrants that has Asian features. She speaks to me. Don't defund the police, okay? Cheer on the police. Have appreciation for them. Don't loot, okay? And don't race bait. I mean, that's a message that a lot of people say. Yeah, that's good, okay?
Yeah. No, that is right. People don't listen to the media. And remember, the media were predicting a blue wave in the House, that the Democrats would gain seats in the House. And Fox News, I think about, an hour or 2 hours after the polls closed, said, we are projecting that the Democrats will hold the House and gain 10 to 15 seats. This was already after the polls had closed. That's the value of these polls. They would gain 10 to 15 seats.
Well, I mean, it ends up being kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Moving forward, I mean, not only did people not like the polling agencies because they didn't tell them the truth, now we're going to XYZ polling service would like to ask you some questions. You just hang up. It's like, who are these clowns? Okay. I mean, why should I tell them anything? Absolutely. Nobody's going to tell pollsters what they think now.
No. That's exactly right.
Except for, did you hear one of the reasons why the polls were off? I love this reason. It's fantastic. Is that the polling, the only people that would react to the poll agencies were resistance kids. And so they're hunkered down in their basement and they want to tell people how much they hate Trump and they want to tell how much they resist. Those are the people that would answer the phone. And others, depending on the zip code, they say, oh, here these guys again, hang up. Or I'm going to vote for Mickey Mouse. Oh, ha, 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 the joke's on you, okay?
Yeah, no, I think that's right. It's very funny because 2016, they said, oh, we had the shy Trump voters. They were essentially the non-college educated whites were the shy Trump voters. But in this case, the shy Trump voters were suburban women, African Americans, and Hispanics. Those were the ones that the pollsters got wrong. So they completely underestimated. They said, oh, gender gap. I mean, how many stories do they publish about the gender gap? And then Trump gained among women. So that shows again the valuelessness of so much of election journalism.
Well, and it also it's these pollsters that are surrounding the Biden orbit. I mean, again, these quote unquote adults in the room, they're second guessing. I mean, they have to at least intuitively be thinking the polls are really wrong. What do your polls say now? Why should we believe you?
Right.
I mean, they're like working in the dark. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and of course they will make a ton of money. An absolute outrage that they should be people like Nate Silver and Nate Cohn. I mean they shouldn't be making any money. I mean, they should learn to code.
Well, I mean, speaking of pardons, we can kind of end on this. I'm waiting for Trump's pardons that he's going to give out, and I think they'll be there. I hope we will be surprised.
I hope, I
hope, Assange, Edward Snowden. I really hope for that. And of course, we had clemency basically for Oliver. For Roger Stone, and I don't know. I mean, Manafort was taken out of prison because of COVID, right?
Yes, he was taken out. That's right. But I mean, he still has. I mean, a pardon means everything is just wiped clean. And so he certainly deserves a pardon. I mean, the government only went after him because he worked for Trump. I mean, all this stuff was long ago. So they suddenly found all this stuff about, it was.
And it had nothing to do with the Russiagate hoax.
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Yeah, it was a tax and banking thing, which the government had already known about for years, and then suddenly they decided to go after him. So yeah, absolutely. But I think absolutely in the case of Julian Assange, this is really pretty much his last hope.
Yep.
Because if he
Or
doesn't
he's
get it
gonna,
now, I mean,
I'll say it, and I don't want to say it, but if he doesn't, then he's going to die in prison.
yeah,
Okay.
I think,
And I think that, people that are close to watching that trial have told me as much. And I've asked them directly, are they just running out the clock on him? And they have to say what they think is true. And they think that is true.
yeah,
It's, death by prison. That's what
absolutely.
they want. Okay. Because they'll never allow him a free trial, a public
No,
trial.
no,
Never.
no,
Okay.
absolutely.
So we're in the pardon season.
No.
I don't think there's, I mean, if I were a betting man, and I'm not, I think there's zero chance that, I think if Trump is offered it, he'll be on Twitter in a heartbeat. Okay.
Right.
And he'll see, the thing is, these people just, it's just like, remember when, Biden made his speech that, I accept the fact that I'm going to be the next president of the United States, basically declaring victory. I remember talking to you about it immediately afterwards. I watched like 15 seconds of it and just turned channel. I mean, it's just an anodyne, typical nothing. Okay.
Right.
And
Right.
so I think these people are flat-footed, and they're quite greedily eyeing cabinet posts. And I'll tell you, from the people that I've been talking to, George, the progressive wing of the party, their hair is flaming right now. Okay. It's not going to be an easy ride. Not going to be an easy ride. Except for the media will try to keep
Well,
pushing.
no, it isn't, because first of all, the people that already Biden is listening to and will be appointing are all people with money, because you need money in politics, and those are the people you want to keep happy. And as far as the sort of the left is concerned, I mean, they really don't have too much clout. I mean, the majority is much diminished in the House. They don't have the Senate. They don't really have any means of coercing Biden. So yeah, I mean, he doesn't have to pay any attention. I mean, particularly now when so many on the center of the party are turning their guns against AOC and the squad and say you're to blame. It's not actually. I think that's wrong, because I think it's Pelosi who is to blame for the Democrats.
And that's why 2022 is in high gear already, because they see, what a lot of people don't understand is that this was some grudgingly a collective effort with, let's put it this way, peculiar voting. Okay. Right. I think I'm being charitable here, to get across the line. But now the headache starts, the hangover starts. You don't know what to do with Trump. You don't know what to do with the left wing of your party, the progressives. You don't know what to do. Okay.
No. I think that's it. Other than keep all your rich friends happy, and keep all your donors happy, keep big tech on your side, because you're going to need them, because they're going to be censoring all of your political opponents. Yeah, that's the Biden agenda. I mean, what else is the Biden agenda other than wear a mask at all times, even in the bathroom? So yeah,
the interesting thing for me, I mean, and from my far away perch here, is that the longer the reaction to COVID continues the way it is, and it's accelerating because we've gone into flu season now, and these blue state governors are at a loss what to do, because when you side on the or go default for a lockdown, it means you don't know what to do. Okay. Yeah. And that's going to it's infuriating more and more people. Look, I've surveyed a lot of countries. Things are slowly but surely coming back to normal. They're checking hospital bed counts. If there's a worry there, they tell people to exercise more restraint in their public life. But there's no hysteria. Okay, there's no hysteria. And in the U.S., without this passage of a stimulus package, which I think again will go down in the annals of history, is such a cardinal mistake here. Cardinal.
Right, yeah. That's right. All right, then we'll be maintaining our laser-like focus on what's happening in the election litigation. And remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon.